I need to ask you a question. Be curious, Drifters.
Allegron's won the Brisbane Cup, but it's all Antino. Blake Shin, take a bow. Barraquil, Benny Allen hasn't moved.
Broadside him, bobbed, won the Golden Rose.
Pride of Jenny, trying to find the reserves at the 100. She's 3 in front of Mr. Brightside. It's all too late. Pride of Jenny has run them into the night. Switzerland, the big winner by 2.5 Bellatrix Star.
He's down, Jolly Star. She is a star in the making. Jolly Star bolts in.
It's all Isthmus. She's very smart and fast.
That's a good crop.
That is a phenomenal crop.
Yeah.
The crowd in that Pride of Jenny win is insane.
I reckon it was all us.
Oh, we're two hype men.
Yeah.
We might be flying south, but Moonee Valley is rightfully our stomping ground. R&P every time we go, pretty much.
Yeah. Tipping the card last time we were there. It was just good stuff,
Yeah. Geez, that was a weekend.
Yeah.
We came, we saw, we conquered. Winning premierships.
Well,
jeez.
Jesus. That was 2 different weekends.
Yeah, I know, yeah. Well, yeah, so the first weekend was Friday night at the Valley. Saturday, thanks Swans. You can't play the G, obviously. We'll take the premiership home with us. Then we thought we'd just rub salt in the wound and came back down Cox Plate Day. We're like, thanks Victorians, we'll take your money.
Yeah. Had a nice little entree the night before, Akita Sushi.
Yep.
Saluting as well. After I flew home from Sydney last week for work and reminded me of that night, that afternoon flying out from Brisbane here.
Oh, what a debacle.
3-hour delay. Had
debacle.
that as well.
Oh, shit.
Flying home the other week, I was in like the 3rd group or something. Thankfully, I wasn't in the first 2 because it was one of those situations where there was lightning around the airport. So it's like basically they were boarding the plane and the poor bastards that were on the plane, halfway they were like, oh, sorry, we've ceased all activity. And it was like 2 hours later. And
no.
Those poor bastards were on the plane the entire time.
Oh, that sucks.
So I was like, oh, I'm going to go get some dinner.
Yeah, I'll just get a couple of cold ones while I wait. Check out what the storm did to my plane. I hate those Melbourne players.
Mate, season 10. Our DMs have been blown up. Boys, are you coming back? Because we have been deathly silent.
Not an iota. Not a peep.
No,
Not a squeal.
And I was like, what do you mean? It's months until we come back. And then I checked the calendar. I was like, Group 1 racing in let's call it the first week of February. That sounds about right.
Oh, God. It's unrelenting. It's relentless. The Group 1 sprawl across the year.
It's without relent.
Yeah. It is silly. Like, let's be really honest with each other. It is silly. It feels like we've had a good break, though. Typically, we were talking about this the other day. I'd take my finger off the pulse a little bit. God forbid, Drifters. God forbid, of the great game over the sort of Christmas and New Year break. But I've actually remained relatively close to it this time in. So I feel like I've got a pretty good grasp. Does that mean that I'll pick a winner on the weekend? Probably not. But yeah, I'm pretty across it, I feel, this time. So whilst I feel like we've had a good break, I don't think I've had a long break from the great game. So, I'm ready to rip and tear. Season 10, double digits. How do you like that, Drifters?
Wow.
None of you backed us in. Not a single one of you backed us in.
Oh, a few did. Probably the ones that were asking if we'll come back.
Yeah. All 2 of you.
Well, that kind of makes one of us that is across everything because I've had a significant break. I'm first up this week.
Yeah, wow.
This week.
Fat as a bus, gelding.
Yep. So we will see how it all washes out, but not a bad little couple of cards here. A few races in Sydney, but the main action's at Caulfield this weekend.
It is first meeting on the Caulfield track for a while post.
Yeah, what happened there? The grandstand just blew up or something?
No, there was an arsonist who had a history of I think mental health issues.
Right. Was it the same bloke that did all the damage to the Gold Coast track?
Yeah, a multi-state terrorist for racetracks. Yeah, just another week in horse racing. Honestly, the great game. Oh yeah, the car's pretty good. Like again, and you know, I don't want this to be a common theme on our podcast every season, drifters. But you know, the CF Orr needs to be scrapped from the Group 1 list. I would think, particularly when you've got a futurity over the same distance at the same track. 2-3 weeks later, something like that. But do you know what I do enjoy? Little 2-year-olds going around.
Well, you were talking to me a few weeks ago. Maybe it was a week ago. I don't know when.
It's all a blur.
It is all a blur. But you were saying that this is quite possibly the worst 2-year-old crop you've ever seen.
Yeah.
Explain yourself.
There's just there is a complete lack of depth.
Yeah.
Complete lack of depth. And I've only really seen a couple of performances that get me up and about. Horny. And everyone knows the first name I'm going to say, and that's Woden in the famous Coolmore Silks. God forbid they have another good colt.
They can find one.
They can, well, yeah. Tom Magnier, he spends enough, so hopefully he can find a couple out of the multi-millions he spends. He's clearly number 1 seed, I think, for the Golden Slipper. Is he going to go to the Blue Diamond? I'd say it's about a 1% chance. Then there's my Gladiola, and she's a beautiful little grey filly, and despite her greenness, was dominant on debut. Drawn the car park this weekend. We'll talk more about that later. But she's got a lot of talent, and then it starts to fall away pretty significantly. And you know, we know that the 2-year-old picture becomes a lot clearer closer to the Golden Slipper in particular. But I don't know. I'm not really seeing the depth that you would typically see at this stage of the year heading towards a Golden Slipper. Hopefully that changes.
Yep. Okay. Well, typically I think the most notable winner of the Millennium in Sydney is my guy Castelvecchio, and he was 40-1 that day. So it's like even these really early season 2-year-old features are nothing to really. And I've kind of gone back, and you might have seen it in that little notes section that I kind of shared to you. There is some that, you know, show that early season form, but there's there's others that they're a flash in the pan 2-year-old as well. So as you said, kind of takes form very late, the 2-year-old picture, I find.
Absolutely. I hope it does, because it's looking thin at the moment. We'll see.
North England's not bad.
North England's not bad.
He's on the 4th line of betting with the good people at Ned's. You wouldn't have thought. They're back.
They're back.
Against their better judgment.
The good people at Ned's partnered with the bad people on the On Drift podcast. No, big shout out to Ned's.
Yeah.
We'll go into some more details, but look, Drifters, 2 words: we're rich. We are so loaded, filled to the brim with cash, swimming in it.
Yep. Wouldn't that be nice? Mm-hmm. Okay. Well, how do you want to do this? We've been talking 2-year-olds. Let's kick it off
with the 2-year-olds.
All right. Now, I'm going to have next to no input here, so I'm going to be leaning on you quite significantly. But Caulfield, southerly winds up to 30 kilometres an hour this weekend in Melbourne. So keep that in mind and check your local guys to see how that will affect the track. Rail is in the true position. Should be a good track as well. I think there's a little bit of rain forecast in Sydney and Melbourne on the Saturday, but the damage should be done in terms of the goodness of the track. So, race 4, the Blue Diamond Prelude for the Colts and Geldings. Good Group 3, 1,100 metres set weights. Bodyguard won this last year, knocking off Stay Focused and High Octane. So a couple of C graders, if I'm being kind.
Yes. You look at this field, and it's a perfect encapsulation of what I was talking about with with the lack of depth. The favourite's the obvious place to start, and that's the Godolphin horse. A Cummings Godolphin horse down in Melbourne, not with the Freedman's number 2, Aleppo Pine by Blue Point. I know you've got a mixed view on the Blue Points from memory.
I've written this down somewhere. I just feel like when they get to that, he's had a nice debut win, but that was at Ballarat.
Who'd he beat?
Exactly. And who's here? I don't know yet. But I feel like the Blue Points, when they get to the real high pressure top level, and I'm not saying that this is this, but it's another step up, they kind of capitulate a little bit.
Yeah.
And I was actually having a look. The most notable progeny of Blue Point. Now, Brazilian, who I actually saw win at Royal Ascot. Now, miler, middle distance type of horse in the Without a Fight Silks, beat that Godolphin horse, actually, who was well fancied on the day. Fantastic win. Big Evs as well is a Group 1 winner.
Big Evs.
Now, Big Evs, I've never seen a horse melt more than this thing. He, and that day at Royal Ascot in the King's Stand, which asked for a 1, he was about the $2 favourite that day. And he melted and drifted big time, and he finished near last. So there were a couple that, with that international flavour that came to mind from the Blue Points at that topper echelon.
Upper echelon. Yeah, so look, when it comes to this race, Drifters, I think Aleppo Pine wins this. Am I going to dive into sub $3 for a 2-year-old race where there's such little exposed form? Absolutely not. The only other horse who's got experience prior to Christmas is number 1, Tycoon Star. And he raced pretty greenly on debut and won a Group 3 straight off the bat. They ran 4th in a listed race afterwards. And we see that all the time with 2-year-olds. They can come out on debut, brain them, regress massively the next start, but also vice versa. He'll be much better coming back from a break, and Mark Zara sticks on. So I think they're the two, but other than that, this is a watch race, Drifters, and if something comes through and absolutely brains them, and the Blue Diamond picture will look a lot clearer.
Exactly. Well, race 5 is the Blue Diamond Prelude for the girls. Group 2, 1,100 metres. Set weights. Hayasugi knocked off Kurinagi and Matisse last year. I remember we were saying that the 2-year-old picture, that the boys were dominant. And it was because there was your Storm Boys and your Switzerlands and your Colemans and the like. But the girls end up dominating it all.
Yeah.
So we should have a bit of a clearer picture this weekend. I think really early signs, the boys are probably got a nose in front at this stage.
Yeah. It'd be funny if we have a repeat in the Golden Slipper of everyone hoping Storm Boy gets the job done. Even Gay Waterhouse herself, when she was cheering on Storm Boy, and then her filly Lady of Camelot wins, and I think Gay was excited, but would have been more excited if the Coolmore Colt won.
Way more excited.
Anyway, so My Gladiola, who we spoke about, she's drawn the car park gate 12 and is a $2 even favourite with the good people at Ned's. So I'd suggest you keep your powder dry, Drifters. I think she's better than them from what we saw first up, and geez, she's a gorgeous filly as well, My Gladiola. One that I could entertain, talking about Godolphin horse, with the Freedmans, is number 7, Expulsion by Bivouac. Wasn't he a good horse when he was on? Some days he was off.
Yeah. Well, what I'm tending as I get older, and this is, mind you, the 5th year we've been doing this. So you would hope we have some sort of wisdom on the subject. The older I get is some of these Godolphin colts, they can just have off days. And Bivouac, he was brilliant on his day, but when he was off, he was off big time. So I'm really keen to see how his progeny go.
Absolutely. But I thought, first up in that My Gladiola race, she was racing greenly. I think she was blocked for a clear run. She gets Mark Zara. She gets an okay gate, and she's $46 with the good people at Ned. So if you want to have a shilling or two on,
yeah,
I think she's the one. because she's from a stable that's given her the best possible education. She's got elite bloodlines, and she's got that race day experience. So she could spike massively. I think she's overs.
Well, and this is no shade thrown at John McArdle, but he's not your Lindsay Parks. He's not your Kieran Mars. He's not your Godolphins. So I could easily see her drifting in the betting starting around that 250, and you get a better price come race time.
Absolutely. Yep.
So
if you're getting close to $3, which I highly doubt, that's a bet.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, now the Rubiton Stakes, 1100 metres Group 2, set weights penalties. A few interesting runners here. A few of them, about 4 of them, around that $4 quote, which is fascinating. Mahaba, who was unlucky not to win the Winterbottom Stakes over in Perth. Insurrection, who's only having his second...
So what?
Yeah.
What?
He's only having his second ever start on his Melbourne leg. And Big Ray, I feel like I don't know, you're sometimes mates with Ray. You catch up with Ray for a beer.
I was on Ray for his first 2 or 3 starts last prep, and we got a dog. John McNeil was running him into a nice placing, and I jumped off when he won.
I jumped on. That's
jumped
right.
on.
Yeah.
So
that was good.
that's good for you.
Miss Aria is one of yours, and she's $18.
Yeah, I've got a lot of time for Miss Aria.
She kind of went off the boil a little bit end of last prep.
I think she's a
5-year-old?
5-year-old mare, but I also think she's a bit of a Goldilocks type horse, Miss Aria.
Yeah.
Because even from that gate 3, I think she can be a bit negative in her racing pattern. And when she won that day, when we were at the track
At the
Valley, she was gone, and then absolutely bolted home on the rails and ran super the next 2 starts, and then obviously sort of came off the ball in the Group 3. Oh, look, I'm prepared to see it go around, but I wouldn't talk you out of it at 18s. Drifters, 1,100 metres, I think is an interesting start for her. So clearly they're going to try and keep her at that probably 1,400 metres as an absolute maximum for Miss Aria, which she did last prep. But I just find it interesting that they're starting at 1,100. So maybe she's a bit sharper this time around. Look, Mahaba, yeah, he's coming off a break, but it's a pretty short let up. So there'll be some residual fitness there. I'm really excited to see how he goes, because he's one who, because he doesn't have the Group 1, perhaps he could be, I'm assuming he's being aimed at like a Newmarket handicap down the straight because he's performed well there before. So will he be fully wound up? I doubt it, because they'd want to protect his handicap. But I think if he's taken any improvement from the back end of the spring, it could be hard to beat.
Yeah. I'm keen to take him on, and he's one of mine. I was on him big time in that Winterbottom, and I felt sick post the race, because I think the jockey said, hold us, and then they just opened the gates and they weren't ready. Anyway, I've moved on, I promise. He typically takes a run or 2 to get into his prep, Mahaba. So I'm happy to let him around. And I have the same opinion about Airman, who found the winning post again in the Premier Stakes against the likes of Marzu and Bella Nips.
Bella Nips.
How's that form reading? Where you look at his first up form profile, 6 attempts, 3 wins, 2/3, but he hasn't won first up for 3 preparations, Airman. So I'm thinking as he gets older, he might take a little bit. Insurrection, the erect one, 3 trials. Last one got me really interested against the likes of Mayfair. Really fascinated, because he had the spring off. Things didn't quite go his way in the Winter Carnival, but prior to that, he had a nice little preparation in the autumn. So I'm happy to lean Insurrection's way. Barrier 2, Blake Shin, jump, lead, win.
Can Blakey Bill get down to 55 kilos? Would that be his limit?
He's 58.
I know, but he typically rides Miss Aria. So I'm wondering if he was like, I prefer Insurrection, or if he was like, 55 ain't for me this weekend.
Probably not. Not this early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because he pretty much could ride any horse he wants down in Melbourne.
Yes, mate.
Blakey Bill.
Him and when the phone call goes in, it's Mark Zara on the other line. It's like, then they biff.
Yeah.
They biff to figure it out.
Ma.
Yeah, Insurrection on top selection for me. Who'd you go, Mahaba?
I think Mahaba can win, absolutely. Miss Ari is at a price where I might have a shilling each way.
1x3. Maybe it's the year of the 1x3.
Yeah. I think for me, I have a pretty strict policy about not backing things to place, but
Depends the price.
depends on the price. But those place markets are pretty dross at the moment, so
Yeah.
I don't know what my ethos is this year.
Yeah.
Find more winners, drifters. 'Cause I don't find enough of them.
Yeah. All right. The Autumn Stakes is race 7 on the program, 1400 metre group 2. For the 3-year-olds, set weights penalties. You're an Angel Capital guy. He's the favourite here at $3.20.
He gives me Celestial Legend vibes.
Oh. In what way?
Shows talent in his spring 3-year-old season, but comes back a much better horse in his autumn 3-year-old season.
Interesting. So you have a high opinion of it.
I just think that there's spots up for grabs in the 3-year-old Colt Brigade.
I remember when we were talking, heading in, if we were to listen back at the start of our 3-year-old, I'll get it together, I promise. At the start of the spring last year, right? I reckon we're going like, this is one of the best 3-year-old crops of all time. And like that, it goes away real quick, doesn't it?
It does. It really does. I think the sprinting crop for the 3-year-olds
That's what I was going to say.
Pretty good.
I think they're pretty good.
Yeah. I think they're pretty good. I think just in general, our horses at the moment are pretty dross, though.
But when Private Life wins the Caulfield Guineas leading, where nothing's taken initiative, I'm like, oh.
It's a bit dross, isn't it?
Yeah, and then broadsiding kind of fails, and I'm like, oh, okay.
He needs a wet track broadsiding, and that's what I mean. I think there's spots up for grabs, particularly when you have like the Australian and Randwick Guineas on the same day.
Oh, yeah.
What the hell? Really excited to see how he goes. I think he wins this race. Set weights and penalties, I hate those races, though. Jenny the Fox. Interestingly enough, Uncle Tony took her off Kieran Maher and gave her to Alex Ray. And her win in sort of mid-Jan at Cranbourne, go back and watch the replay if you haven't seen it, Drifters, because she gave him an absolute spanking, eased down. This is obviously a lot harder, Jenny the Fox, but at $15, she's one to keep an eye on. Two Done Hot's her sire, so same as broadsiding and a Fastnet Rock Dam. Fastnet Rock's a fascinating sire. Sire of Via Sistina, but he was a sprinter. Bizarre. But yeah, Angel Capital, $3.20. I'm keen to have a bet on him this weekend.
Jenny the Fox, that maiden only 2 weeks ago, 2 subsequent winners as well. So I think it's a decent. Not all maidens are the same.
No, they are not. We've had a horse that it's won a maiden.
Yeah. Yep.
It's not the same as others.
Evaporate the Top Weight's a fascinating horse. His last run on a racetrack was in the Cox Plate, believe it or not. And he was only 6 lengths away from the track record that day, and he was last. So
I'll tell you what, we picked the eyes out of that race. He said Evaporate would run last, and he sure did.
Yeah. I'm a fan of him. I'm probably not going to have a bet on him, but Barrier 3, I could see him going out and kind of like bullying his way, and he has the right jockey to do that on board with Mark Zara. The JRA Plate. Now, I was trying to place this race in previous years. I swear it was at like Moonee Valley or something.
Maybe. I'm not sure.
I don't know. Anyway, 1,600 metres, Group 3, set weights, penalties. Jeez, you have some resuming stayers here. Duke DeCessa, Warmonger. What else we have here? Kinesiology. They're probably the most notable. Then you have Munners, Moonamek, who I did see. He's had 69 starts, Moonamek. 11 at the track for 1 win and 1/3. And then Wings of Song. She just puts in every time, doesn't she?
Like I said, have been keeping my finger on the pulse. You might recall me texting you or talking to you the next day about Wings of Song winning at a big price in Cranbourne. Because I remember looking at the form and thinking to myself, what the hell is she doing here? And she's at a big price. And just completely forgot about it. Ended up jumping on Brazen Lady and Wings of Song nuts are on the line. So when I saw that she was coming back after 8 weeks in a benchmark 100 over 1,600 metres at Flemington, and she was like $4, I was like, huh? And your boy might have had a decent bet on Wings of Song, and she just only got pipped in a race that was absolutely walked, which isn't her jam. This is a mile race, and I think for her, she's a 2,000 metre horse, so she wants to truly run a strong mile. Will she get that here? Well, any race with Buffalo River, you'd think would have some speed. She's at $10. She's drawn absolutely dross, so you know where she's going to be in the track. But I think she's a mare with a lot of talent. I think she's one of those ones who, depending on what she does for the rest of the prep, could be aimed at the handicap mile races. But I think she's a 5-year-old mare type operator. So in the springtime will be much better. But she's got talent. Wings of Song for mine. I'm gonna have something on her.
Agreed. I think that was a nice little prep up run. 8 weeks between runs. So, yeah, $10. I'll have some of that. The CF Orr is race 8 on your programs. 1,400 metres, Group
Race
1. Race 9, rather. Group 1, Wait for Age. Mr. Brightside, $2.50 here.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah. Oh, he's the one to beat. He's the one to beat.
Like, considering his last effort on a racetrack, where that's arguably one of his best wins, that Champions Mile.
Yeah.
That was fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
$2.50, he's at Caulfield. Track distance, he's 6 tries, 5 wins, and a second. Like, does he just go out and beat these?
You could argue he's better over 1,400 metres than he is over a mile.
Yeah.
All things being equal, he's incredibly hard to beat at $2.50. He's one of those ones where I could see every man and his dog having a multi with the good people at Ned's this weekend, and he's the cornerstone of that multi. And he'd be one of those ones where if he trots in by length, I'd be like, yep.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Am I going to have a bet on him? No.
Yeah.
I'm gonna try and get him beat. And I was hoping for a bigger price, but I think there's people who are way smarter than me who are probably specking on this horse, and that is the 3-year-old colt, number 10, Private Life. Yeah, I agree. Didn't like his win in the Caulfield Guineas. Didn't like it.
He still won it.
He still won it though.
Yeah.
And then I think I might have said on the podcast, I'm like, you know what? I think this guy will go sneaky well in the Champions Sprint. He ran 5th. He ran really well.
Only beaten just over a length.
Bunch finish in a Group 1, typically, like you wouldn't say it's a good thing, but if he's there or thereabouts with our best sprinters, Gate 1, Chris Waller bringing him down to Melbourne. There's some clear intent there, and I think Chris Waller trying him down the straight tells me that Chris clearly thinks this guy's got some versatility, and probably was considering him for a Newmarket handicap stint, I'd say. But maybe he's thought to himself, geez, that Australian Guineas is going to be pretty weak. I'm going to have a crack at that. What I didn't realise, I looked a bit into his breeding. Aliana Tilde, his dam by Snitzel. This is one of those weird Snitzel ones. She's placed 3rd in a Sydney Cup.
Oh. Yeah, right.
One of those weird Snitzel ones. So he's by Written Tycoon. So he's got weird sort of bloodlines where he probably does profile to be more of a miler than a sprinter, Private Life. But
do you know why? This is me just thinking out loud, right? Because Coolmore own this horse. Do they wear those silks when they're not bred by Coolmore?
No, so I did ask them about that when I was over there because I was fascinated. I was like, you see the purple ones with the white sort of trim.
Merchant Navy ones.
Yep. You see the blue with the orange. You see this and stuff like that. And I think it's different members of the Coolmore interests who have their own silks. But Coolmore in general will just go, we'll default to the Navy.
Yeah. Gotcha. Okay.
But
Interesting.
yeah, fascinating.
Yeah. Okay. Because I saw Written Tycoon. He's a Yulong stallion, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Yeah.
oh, maybe they just.
But like Switzerland's by Schnitzel, and he's Narrowfield stallion.
Yeah, gotcha.
But was he bred on the farm? I don't know. It could be that. I don't know. But I think it's just different interests within the Coolmore conglomerate.
If you know, let us know. But interesting.
So yeah, I'm gonna have a spec on him, but like I'm not overly interested. I think the other one that at a big price that I think could run a bolt with the blinkers back on is Southport Tycoon. He was Dross first up.
Jury's out for me.
Dross first up, but I think at 14s, blinkers back on, gate 2, Mark. I think he can bounce back.
$14 that's big. That is a big price for him, but he's acting a bit culty for me. I think he's.
I would be too.
Yeah. I want to see him do it again. Yeah, and he's just had a weird prep. In terms of like a bit of a speed map for you, I'll put something together for you, Drifters. I had Schwartz surely tries to find the front again because that Australia Stakes win, he absolutely dominated from the front. Samana will probably try and follow him across, I'd say, and Private Life from Barrier 1, if he led the Caulfield Guineas, why wouldn't he try and do something similar? I thought Stapati could probably use that excellent gate in Barrier 4 and similar with another wheel. And then I had Mr. B kind of third line after those. So that's my rough speed, man.
Yeah, I think so.
Now, Schwartz, that was impressive. I thought that was very impressive.
Yeah.
Not here first up like the majority of these.
Targeted at this.
Yeah. Like, smart target. John O'Shea. Astute trainer. And I have no doubt he's had sleepless nights over this horse. Sleepless. Because he's shown such immense talent.
Yeah.
And then when it comes to, all right, we're going to target him down the straight on Derby Day, nothing.
No.
But I'm keen to see what he can do.
Yeah, he can absolutely mix his form. And he wouldn't shock me short, so I couldn't back him at $6 personally. So yeah, that's how I'm saying it.
Okay.
But yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if Mr. Bright, so I just peeled out at the right time and go, see ya.
Of course.
Beats bowling.
Mate, he doesn't have to run down Pride of Jenny this time.
No, he doesn't.
Yeah.
Bro's stoked.
Yeah. Okay, and we end the day with the Peter LeGrand Stakes, Group 3, 1,100 metres, set weights penalties for the 3-year-old fillies. I'm a big Arabian Summer guy. I think she has immense talent. She's been there or thereabouts against some better horses than these. Beaten 2.5 lengths against the likes of Private Harry, who's jumped out of the ground. Crossing the line with Lady of Camelot as well, and she had a far more torrid run that night. But her only fail outside of the top 3 was when, in the Magic Millions last year, when Stormboy absolutely brained them all. And she pulled up with a slow recovery. So I'm a big fan of Arabian Summer. I think she must have had some issues because she's been going around for a long, long time. I think this is the prep where we see the best out of her.
Yeah, I like Arabian Summer as well. I like that she's coming back to 1,000 metres. I think that's more her jam. Trial in between her last start. And yeah, I agree. Private Harry, he looks to be a smart colt. So yeah, I think she's a bet. Can't forget about our girl Drifting as well. But yeah, Arabian Summer for me.
Yeah. All right. And let's do some quick work in Sydney then, because we're done in Melbourne.
Finito.
All right. The Lonhro Plate. Now, who won this last year? Castagna. Who?
Huh?
Knocked off Embassy in a node. So, not a vintage edition, I would have thought. Extractor. This is smart colt, I think. Just got too far back in its only debut run behind the likes of North England, who I think is second favourite in the Golden Slipper in Ned's markets. But latest trial, last kind of went around him and tried to loop him up as well. Barrier 14, J-Mac on. It's going to be a negative ride. But I was having a look at this. Out of Spirit of Boom colt, you don't see many Spirit of Booms south of the Queensland border.
Certainly don't know. No. One on the weekend, I believe, Mighty in the Black Soil Bloodstock Silks. But no, you're right. You don't really see a lot of them.
Yeah. So I think he can run well. But I thought there was one for Waterhouse bought Anarchist, number 5 here. Few trials, latest ones. He's been ridden aggressively by Timmy Clark, but he stays in the saddle. $14. He's most likely good. You know where he's going to be.
Yeah, he's the other one. When it gets to races like this, and if you're going to have a bet, I just look at the Waterhouse bot trained horses, because I feel like they're always a little bit disrespected in races like this. They're going to be trained well, broken in well, professional, ping the gates, and Anarchist definitely fits that bill. That's the James Harron Bloodstock Silks, and he's always got inevitably one or two pretty good ones each autumn. So yeah, I think Anarchist is about at $14.
Absolutely. Now the Inglis Millennium listed 1,100 meters, set weights for the 2-year-olds. Crikey, how many? What's that? 1, 2, 3, 4 emergencies. Full field of 16, 4 emergencies here. I don't know where to start. Rivanello is a smart colt. Again, barrier 16 for Chris Lees and J-Mac. Impressive winner there at Randwick, defeating the Magic Man. Not the Magic Man we're accustomed to, Joe Moreira, but the actual horse, the Magic Man. So I think he can run well. And the other one I was interested was the Bjorn Baker Derby Silks. They're having an absolute fill up of late.
Yeah, and Bjorn Baker's been on fire, so credit to him.
Within the law.
Within the law. Terrible draw, but she was the one I was looking at within the law at $6. She's showing heaps of talent, I think. But just where did she get to from that gate? And plus Jason Collett, I don't think he's the right sort of rider from that sort of gate in a race like this. So with all due respect, Jason. So, you know, the one I'm keen to take on is the number 12, and the silks that I really like is number 12 Price Tag. Like, yeah, she's run second to My Gladiola, but was clearly so much better. So for her to open a favourite against the Sydney horses, I'm keen to take her on. No, I think you're right. I think the horses you've highlighted are the ones. There's another two, obviously Cobra Club, who ran second to Within the Law last start. Obviously, as a colt with the Waterhouse bot camp, he'll be smart from that gate. He'll ping it. The other one is Kelly Schweider horse, number 4, Grafter Burners. Great name.
That is a fantastic name.
Great name. Draw, but Queensland horse having to throw at the stumps down here. Coming back to 1,100 metres isn't ideal from 1,200, but yeah, $23 with Neds at the moment. So yeah, just watch this race, drifters, I reckon. Maybe have a spec on something at big odds.
Graf. Was he going around with like Red Zell and stuff? Was that Griff?
No, Griff was going around with like Animo and stuff, wasn't he?
Oh. So Graf had to have been, right? I reckon he was in the same silks as Scholes. Graf.
Oh, let's have a look.
And then I reckon they might have changed to the the silks that Best of Bordeaux originally was in.
Oh, the Aquis.
Yeah. I reckon.
Multiple group winning son of Star Witness. Graf was an undefeated 2-year-old and a brilliant 3-year-old.
Maybe not.
Didn't win in Group 1.
Okay.
But he stands at Scone. Scone.
Grafton de Verners is one of the great names, though. I love that.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm going to take a Quincy, Within the Law, and Rivanello for me. Now, race 8, the Eskimo Prince Stakes. Cabalus won this last year, knocking off Macarena and NCAP. I remember I gave Macarena as a really good bet to Craig Sneesby, and I reckon he jumped on about 30 seconds before the jump, and I was like, sorry, brah. Unlucky, brah. Water off a duck's back for that man. Any firm opinions for the Eskimo Prince this year?
Nothing firm, but I tell you what's not going to be firm. Linebacker's schlong.
Yeah.
Because the poor fella has been gelded, but so he should have been. He was naughty. Stallion chain off first time.
Shock. I didn't know what to make of his trials either because he was aggressively ridden and he was not picking up as well.
No. So
that would be concerning.
Right up there with the most fascinating runners this weekend, linebacker, because, you can't geld them twice.
You really can't.
Aside from that, really excited to see how number 5 Public Attention goes. Grey Colt for the Coolmore camp with the Price, Mick Price and Michael Kent Jr. stable, which is unusual. And Snow and May's a smart little filly too. So, yeah.
Jeez, you've gone off Gatsby's big time. Weren't you saying that this horse could win an Everest at one stage?
I don't know if I was aiming that high. But $2.70, I couldn't possibly. Not from what we saw at the back in the last prep.
Yeah.
Couldn't possibly.
Thought his trial was pretty good. And it's like, there's trial form, then there's trial form, right? Like Lady Shenandoah, who's kind of like, I'm fascinated to see how she goes this autumn. But Switzerland ran second in that trial. He finished alongside Ostraka, and he was against the older horses there too. So, there's trials and then there's trials.
Mm-hmm.
So I reckon Gatsby's will run well.
Beer Baron's a good name.
Great name. Who's he out by? Cosmic Force. That horse loved the wet.
How's the dam? Ice cold crowny.
Beautiful crown. I reckon they were Australian connections.
I think so, yeah.
All right. Well, that's about it then. Well done, mate.
Oh, thanks, mate.
Yeah. A few cobwebs.
A little bit, yeah. A little bit. But
more so from yours truly, but that's all right.
Oh, no, don't be silly. Don't be silly. I hope you enjoyed Drifters. Yeah, it has been a long time. Before you know it, it'll be bloody Golden Slipper, and then before you know it, it'll be Queen Elizabeth, and then before you know it, it'll be Melbourne Cup. So it's always good to get into it. And do you know what? When autumn's in the air, guess what else is in the air? 2 of the greatest codes in the world. Rugby League and AFL.
Yes.
It's just a great time of the year.
Yes. And the Lions had the gold AFL logo this year, being reigning premiers.
That's nice. Real nice.
Love to hear it. All right. Hooroo. We'll see you on the weekend, I believe.
Yes. See you Sunday, Drifters.
All right.